Goldston. Very nice. Thank you very much for visiting us in Guadalajara and
It's my
giving
pleasure.
this opportunity to speak a little bit. But I think the most important thing is musical collaborations with local artists here in Guadalajara. And maybe first of all, talk about your musical experience. At what age did you get involved with music? What instruments did you started with in music?
I started with guitar when I was 7.
7.
Yeah.
And when did you move over to cello? How was the process?
It was in public school. Just picked an orchestra instrument to learn in public school. I mean, I started on guitar and I was so young, I didn't really have any particular taste, or I wasn't really I didn't really identify with any particular, so it was sort of like show up and the guitar teacher just teaches you whatever they teach, and it's like, okay, sounds good, whatever, and then, and so it was a nice start and a nice time to start, and so I would also, I would sort of improvise or play by ear, and just didn't have any sense of that being something that was like difficult, and then learned cello, and that's, that was very traditional, music pedagogy, and it's an orchestra, and studying classical repertoire, and then it was a very strange distance for me between those two ways of working, so a little bit later, then I tried to kind of bring them together more, or to sort of like access that kind of looser way of doing things on cello, which took some time because there were not very many examples of that on cello. So,
Was your first like musical projects the Run Remain ensemble, or did you have like other first bands where you started?
I had some other bands in Seattle. I played in this band, the Nordstroms, for a bit, and had different, like maybe improvising ensembles with people, or would shift a bit. But maybe Nordstrom's was kind of the first regular one, and then later on,
That was like late 80s. Right?
Yeah, late 80s.
And did you got your first chance to record at that ages, or when was your first recording experiences?
First recording experience of mine was Hat Orchestra. We've been playing very regularly around Seattle for several years, and then the bass player from Soundgarden offered to pay for a recording session with us.
That was the first album that had.
Yes, yeah.
Was, Is Black Hat Orchestra like the project that's maybe brought to you a wider range of different styles from different parts of the world? It's a lot of folklore.
Yeah, it was a kind of a sort of challenge we gave ourselves, and it was kind of had to do more with the personality of the musicians we were playing with, and sort of like, in a way, we put the band together more based on the people than what they played or how they played, and then everybody had sort of, it was a really weird collection of instruments and weird collection of sort of ways that people worked. Like some people could only play, you had to write out every note, and then some people would only play like from chord changes or whatever, so it was sort of a funny mix. And then we just ended up kind of tailoring what we played to how that ensemble could sound good together. Now I think about it in retrospect, it was like a band in a port town where just all different things kind of came through, and we would just sort of pick up whatever was around. But yeah, we liked kind of old stuff too, and things that really sort of like would transport you to another place or another time. So kind of things had a kind of cinematic quality in a way, yeah, and a certain sort of like very unapologetically nostalgic, like emotional, but in sort of mysterious way, kind of quality. So.
And you've been part of Seattle's musical history in the last 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
You've seen a lot of it happening in Seattle. Was it like, it's not like one community or one scene, I don't know, maybe you can tell us a bit, is Seattle kind of a multiverse of different communities, people doing all
Absolutely.
sort of things?
There's a lot of music there, and there's always been a lot of music there. And I think one thing that I've noticed over time about Seattle that is really special about the music is that a lot of the scenes and even the shows like really mix. So it's not it's not unusual for there to be a show with like a metal band and a hip hop band and a noise band. Like it's just kind of like there's a lot of mixing between genres and a lot of interest in collaboration and sort of other people's projects, and it's much less closed off between scenes, I would say. Traditionally, I mean, I think that changes a bit over time, it fluctuates, but like the grunge bands always sort of seemed like the punks that liked metal and pop music, or, you know, so it's always, everything's kind of in between, so it really suits me well because I've never liked to be in the middle of a scene. I've always sort of drifted on the edges of all these different scenes, and I think there are a lot of people like that in Seattle with a lot of interests, a lot of musical interests.
Was it wonderful? I mean, the whole experience of the Unplugged.
Yeah, sure,
Nirvana. Yeah. It happened you knew Kurt Cobain much before the tour and the Unplugged? Or?
No, not at all. No, it was from this kind of public art project that I participated in that involved a lot of cellists that this woman, Billy's brother, put together, and then she had worked a bit with Chris Novoselic about that. It had to do with the Balkan War, and so then when they needed a cellist, she was the person who knew all the cellists from this project. So yeah, and then I was cellist who played guitar, so you didn't have to write everything out for me. I could improvise, or you could just tell me some chord changes or whatever.
More recently, you have been doing some solo projects and some soundtracks too for The Passion of Joan of Arc.
Right.
2018, right? The tour, I think there was a recording too on.
Oh yeah, Mexican right. Label. Yeah, that just came out. Yeah, that just came out on Substrata, the Alfredo Gallardo's label, and but that film I've worked with a lot, off and on for years. Yeah, many years. Yeah. So that sort of comes and goes, and I've done it sort of occasionally or in bursts for, I don't know, maybe 20 years or something.
How did it happen, that connection with Substrata, Mexican label, to get out this recording?
I played in Mexico City a couple of years ago, and Alfredo introduced himself to me and said he had a label, and I was excited about the idea of putting something out in Mexico, and I had this kind of odd live recording that just a live soundtrack, so it's sometimes a little bit minimal and has a kind of an odd quality, but it was recorded in Germany with Andrea Belfi and Aidan Baker, and it was in a very beautiful sounding church. And I was excited about the recording, just partly because you can hear the space so much. So, and it was not a great recording, so I had to spend a lot of time with my engineer friend who I work with a lot, Mel Detmer, and just to kind of try to really get a full sound out of it. And it was like not very logical thing to do, but it was like, oh, there's something about this that I really couldn't let go of. So I was happy. Yeah, so I had a feeling, just from my one conversation with Alfredo, I had a feeling it was something he would be interested in. He was very excited about it, and he liked how odd it was. He was like, yeah, this is, my label's the one that puts out the weird stuff. I was really grateful. I was very happy I could find someplace to go.
Do you think that there's also some similar things happening in terms of musical communities here in Guadalajara, with all these friends, in Seattle with all these constellations of different scenes? Do you think you see things happening here too in Mexico and Guadalajara?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think you can really kind of draw a parallel very easily, between the way these scenes operate and the sort of the sense of music, and everybody sort of like being in all these different combinations together in these different bands.
Any, like, from your experience, some advices or tips that you could give to all the people, musicians from Mexico and Guadalajara, who see this about in terms of, I don't know, musical formation or community music?
Play as much music as possible and look out for your friends. Yeah.